It's time to review the newspapers. Today we have about 7 of them, of course. And to do that with us is Dr. Dan Ekere. He's a lecturer with the University of Lagos. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
okay, so we start off, with the Daily Trust. How Army recovered General Alkali's remains. Mother grateful for recovery receives mourners in Portiscom. Very sad.
Honestly, that was very sad. Watching it yesterday. But my worry really is that I seem not to know what they were looking for. Is it money? Or because it doesn't seem like a ritual killing. So what were they really looking for that, you know, hoodlums would just attack? It wasn't as if there was a conflict on the road and in the process they killed him. This one, they actually took him and the car, pushed the car into
and it's interesting to know the role that the community played in all of this. Recall that the community protested.
Yeah, the women were protesting that that is like an ancestral, you know, terrain. You don't touch the water, you don't do this, their men will die. And I think maybe they know what they were expecting, that maybe the men killed the major general, chances are that they are going to kill the men. I don't know what it meant.
But
really.
then with the revelation, you know, the army discovered, even before the actual discovery of the corpse, somehow it has come to the fore that this might not be the first time.
Yes, from all indication, because I think there was another boss. Yes, that they found inside that place. So it's like because of that kind of myth around that place, they can do all manner of evil and nothing happens. Nobody seems to, you know, and people have been taken for granted that this is an area that you don't go because of whatever. But I think that was quite, you know, very inhuman. You know, that investing in an individual to the point of a major general. It's not an easy
After
thing.
7,
I'm telling you, that was a huge loss.
It's also very important to scratch beneath the surface so that we can, you know, re-energize and...
Yeah, we are hoping that the army will be able to unfold more.
Exactly, and the army has really unfolded a lot of
in fact,
things.
A lot of revelation.
They've done so many investigations. They're still carrying out more. Some have been declared wanted as well. Okay, so let's move on to other stories now. From the top here, 2019, Atiku going nowhere. Shiomole doing well, Tinubu says, the national leader of the ruling party, APC there, talking.
Some very bold statements.
Yeah, but what do you expect of, you know, opponents? You would just give in that your opponent is doing better. But that will be left to Nigerians to decide, really, whether Atiku will go somewhere or not. But I think the problem of APC is actually within APC.
Okay.
Yeah, Atiku is not their problem. I think the problem is within. So except they are able to put their house in order, it will be a very tough challenge. All right.
Minimum wage, FG, Labour rejects governor's 22,500 naira offer. So many figures out there right now.
So what is FG accepting this time now? Because initially they said they were not in agreement with the 30,000 and all of that. And now FG is rejecting 22,500 offered by... But I think this is quite, you know... our governors are just wicked, you know, because I do not see...
Well, we cannot say...
It's wickedness.
Wicked, really.
It is wickedness. There is no state in Nigeria that cannot pay that money.
All right. FG probes NHIS boss, orders him to go on leave. Buhari launches Armed Forces Remembrance emblem.
Daily Sun is next, and they're also featuring the same story of... Daily Sun is next, and they're also featuring the same story of the missing general's body found and well. Will get the killers, military vows. Atiku rejects federal government's plan to sell assets, borrow to fund 2019 budget. Recommends use of $322 million recovered at Bacha loot. Unfortunately, there are reports that this loot, before the federal government got them, they had to sign, you know, as regards what they're going to use the money for.
Yes.
And that should be perhaps the agreement was to share it among the most vulnerable of the people.
Yeah, whoever has signed such an agreement, I think that's the most unreasonable agreement for anybody to sign. Well, you know, my money is stolen by somebody. And the money I discover the money is with you, and you are now in a position to refund the money. You are not signing an agreement
that is what
I would do with the money.
When you run a system where your people steal your money, it gets to a point where you don't have the bargaining power because you don't have the money.
No, but you see, they will spend the money for you. They will give you the money, isn't it? So after giving you the money, don't you have a right to use the money the way it should be used? Must you keep, you know, so there are agreements that are inenforceable. This is an inenforceable agreement, as far as I'm concerned, because you cannot tell us how to use our money. In fact, that you kept what was stolen shows that you are a thief. Because they are aware that this money was
the economy benefited from that money.
They should pay interest on the money.
So you expect government to go back on this agreement?
That they have even accepted that the money is with them and they are refunded. They should be ashamed.
It's all right. No doubt APC has failed. That Wike says it didn't nominate Obi as Atiku's running mate. Fire shade to Chief Judge, stop behaving like coward. And 2019 Tinubu meets Buhari, insists PDP will fail. It appears preparation ahead the big election is in top gear. 2019,
I hope the election holds, and I hope it will be well done, that there will be, no much rancor. Let's just have a free, fair, and credible election. Let Nigerians decide. Yeah, all the scheming, all the talking, just focus on what you are going to do for Nigeria. Yeah. So that this time around, we'll hold them, and you, the media, make every effort to document everything they are saying. Continue to flash it before them after all the promises and after the election, so that we will lose track of what they have told us they will do for us.
Yeah, well, and what we've come to realize is that no matter how hot the political kitchen is, at the end of it all, the meal gets cooked. All right, so let's go to the... Okay. The Nation newspaper. Why Atiku's dream will crash by Tinubu, talking about the 2019 ambition. Nigerians won't return to PDP's pit. The national leader of the APC talking there. So let's just leave that since we already talked about it earlier. We go to the top of the paper. NLC rejects governor's 22,500 naira offer. We already talked about that. I will still discuss it later on the show. Exam fraud, Adeleke arraigned, passport seized. Well, it was released on self-recognition. Yeah, okay.
Well, we hope to see the end of that case, because for me, that was a very terrible scenario that, at that level, an old man of that age will go into a secondary school to register. When there is GC, external, the one you can write from anywhere in the world at any age. So I don't see, from all indications, it's like, and I hope somebody has said that he even made mention of something like that. Maybe he didn't even sit for the exam. Perhaps somebody in the school, impersonated him at that particular
And that's why they're charging him really for examination fraud. Let's see how that pans out. Oshiomole, we will settle with Amusu or Korocha. That's no cause for alarm. They know how to, it's family problem. They'll settle it internally.
It was like that in PDP. It was family problem.
And we're counting down to 2nd of November.
Until family began to do something else, and eventually the family collapsed.
Okay, so let's just see how it goes. Okay, I didn't nominate Peter Obi, says Wike. Khashoggi was choked. Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi Arabian journalist that was killed.
Let's move on now. We have the New Telegraph here. 2019, 500 clerics fast pray for Buhari's re-election. President Lutas want to return. IBB PDP will win landslide. Wow. Atiku, federal government can't fund budget by selling assets. Tinubu says we're not afraid of Atiku. And PDP saying APC members are looters. All right, 500 clerics fasting and praying for Buhari's re-election. I'm wondering how...
for me, I think they are on a hunger strike. There's no fasting. It's because when you fast and pray and miss, you have just wasted your energy.
But why would you say they are praying and miss?
Why would you say that? The prayer should be God to provide the right person.
Okay.
Not saying Buhari. It's like telling God, this is the one we want. Okay. Meanwhile, perhaps God has another, person in mind.
But just imagine
the right prayer would have been, God give us the right leader. That is the right prayer.
The huge number might just influence the mind of God.
No, God doesn't work in that manner.
All right. Well, I
am
hoping that you really know how God operates.
Of course.
Minimum wage, government labor head for showdown. Federal government insists on 24,500 naira. NLC TUC will accept only 30,000 naira. And IGP drags 400 Shite members to court. Stock market shares 2.01214 trillion naira in 4 months.
All right, so we'll go to the Punch newspaper. Tinubu, we won't care whether Atiku holds meetings in the jungle or Dubai. As the major story from the top left, Adeleke arraigned for exam malpractices, granted bail. Sale of public assets to fund 2019 budget, irresponsible, Atiku. Shiites defy military's threat, vow to continue protest.
That is one issue that I'm not very comfortable with. The way this Shiite army issue is going, this was the same way, the Boko Haram issue started like, a child's play. And today, Nigeria has never woken up from that particular situation. Now the Shite issue is on. And I understood the leader of the movement has been granted bail. Yeah. So what exactly does the army want? Is it that the man is not a military man, so you can't do any of those your kangaroo trials? I expect that they should leave the court to complete his process. Obviously the court will take his passport, so they will allow him travel. Face the trial.
Many people suggested that he be kept in on house arrest instead of just keeping him in the custody of the government.
I'm not comfortable with it, and I don't think it will be a good something good omen for this country eventually.
And when a group defies firepower, you rather will have to sit down and talk with them.
You see, I just think the army has to be reasonable in this particular instance. Just let the trial go on. Leave all these your power show and all the rest. Because for any reason, it is against the country they will commit this crime, not against the Nigerian army.
But it's not like the army is going out to meet these people.
Is it the army that should be detaining the
because the army has been deployed to so many states across the country. No, so the soldiers are on the streets.
On a normal day where you get to the level of trial in court, the army should hands off.
Okay.
What is their business again?
Now, who protects the public interests?
Who has been protecting
public property?
Who has been taking care of suspects over the years? There's a process for that. It is not the duty of the army.
All right.
Except the army is saying that they have their own court to try him, and perhaps they have done anything against any law that has to do with the army when you are not a member of the Nigerian army. So I think the army equally should play along with the laws of the land. And
maintain rules of engagement.
Indeed.
FG sends NHIS boss on leave, sets up probe panel. I won't mortgage my conscience to keep APC job.
The Vanguard newspaper is next. Minimum wage, federal government labor tackles state governors. Labour rejects 22,500 naira, reverts to 66,500 naira demand. Convenes CWC meeting on Friday. EMT Osinbajo meet. Federal government are adamant on 24,000 naira as governors insist on 22,500 naira. Federal government mounts court action to stop planned nationwide strike. In other stories here, APC's National Working Committee axes Amosun Okorocha's men, upholds Uzodimma in Imo, Abiodun in Ogun. Some say this is a tug of war between the National Executive Committee of a party and governors. So I'm wondering who's going to bend at this time?
Well, I think they just have to, play the game in a way that will not destroy the entire, structure. Because it was the same governors that brought in the chairman. If the governors are protesting, I expect that the chairman, even though I don't expect the governors to run his office for him, I expect that he should be able to, reach out to them in a way that there will be a compromise, so that this problem does not eventually, because at the end of the day, every political party of this size, whatever problem they have, eventually affects the entire, state.
I'm wondering what compromise you can reach when you don't allow a governor appoint his own successor.
It is not the duty of a governor to actually appoint his successor.
But that's how it's been.
At best, you can project a candidate. All right, there will be primary elections. Even if your candidate emerges, what is guaranteed that your party is going to win the election?
Absolutely.
So they must be reasonable to that point that it is not in their power to decide who becomes the next governor. So they must play along according to the rules. Yeah,
isn't that why Shomale is somehow becoming unpopular among some groups within the party because he wants to sanitize the way politics is being played?
I don't think there is any insanity there. It's part of the process himself. But the way he talks is another challenge.
Okay.
He's not talking diplomatically.
He has been talking less.
All right. This day newspaper. Again, Buhari appeals to Amosun, Okorocha, Yeri, others not to defect, says he did his best to ensure free primaries, cautions politicians on divisive statements. So that is how we already talked about it. APC considers Tinubu to chair campaign council, Amechi to continue as DG. So why change a working formula?
That is the only constant thing that we must always have. There should be changes. You need to rejig
a working formula.
Yes.
You see,
by now you should know that the old formula that was used is already exposed, and people want to find every means of, trying to surpass that one. So if you have not strategized to the point that you improve on your own, you may likely just go back to the same point while others are rising above you.
Okay, NLC backs out of minimum wage negotiations, says it's 30,000 naira or strike. It's the top of the paper. Equities market loses 1.8 trillion naira in 10 months. And under the masthead of this day, World Bank forecasts oil prices to average $74 in 2019. Cheery news, you'd say?
Let's hope so.
Okay. Okay. Atiku berates FG over public asset sale to fund budget. That's under the story of the APC here, down here on the left side of the paper. And that seems to be the last story on the front page of this day. And of course,
still ahead on TVC Breakfast.
All right, the second part of the newspaper review with us on this time. And to do that with us in the studio, we have beautiful Nubia. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Good morning.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here with you.
All
Thank
right,
you very
welcome.
much.
Glad to see you take a break from music to talk papers this morning.
Well, I mean, news is part of music. You know, everything is interwoven, so
Indeed.
it's good.
So we start with the Daily Trust. How Army recovered General Alkali's remains. Mother grateful for recovery, receives mourners in Potiskum. Up here, 2019, Atiku going nowhere. Oshomole doing well, Tinubu says. Talking about the 2019, and the drama continues anyway. The two major political parties are strategizing.
You want an artist to tell you about politics. See, politicians who talk about politics, right? That is all they know. Economists talk about economics, right? You talk to an engineer, he talks about this. An artist is everything. An artist sees like a bird, a bird's eye view of everything. We can bring all the elements together. So an artist's view might sound extreme, but the artist is the one who can show us the way, right? So when we hear, I always talk something about this political thing, this political class. Let's play on that word, class. There's no class in our politics. What we have is political rabble, political riffraffs. So when I hear this news, what I don't hear is empathy for the people. What I don't hear are plans, concrete plans for the people. I hear people just mouthing off. I hear people, and unfortunately for us, our people, they hear this news, they read this news, and they get caught up in the, the excitement. Yes, an election is there. But 4 years ago, we were going through the same process. We've got to get it right soon, or this country is going to be in serious trouble. Okay,
minimum wage, FG Labour rejects governor's 22,500 naira offer. FG probes NHI's boss, orders him to go on leave.
Delhi Sun is next. The missing general's body found in well will get the killer's military vows. I don't know if you've been following this story. So a military general went missing. They attempted to empty a pond. The community says no, it's a taboo. Right. Eventually they found out that the vehicle, they found a vehicle in that pond, and it just looks like the whole community is complicit to what has transpired.
Well, what's the news behind the news?
I'm just wondering what your reaction is.
Well, I mean, my reaction to things that have to do with is a mystery, right? Perhaps a crime has been committed. We do not know yet. Right? We do not know the full story. I like to hear the full story before I make opinions. I find that in this country right now, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that doesn't even make the newspapers. It doesn't make. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of things that have been done in the past that are coming to bear now. So unless we get the full story, the truth of the matter, we cannot just make opinion. Like, I mean, I hear things in the north now. There's all these issues. There are all these guys that are, in Abuja, all these are religious people who are doing all this. People are just talking about things on the surface. There are deeper issues, and unless we get to those deeper issues, we cannot really
get to the root of it all.
Suspects have been arrested anyway. Some have been declared wanted.
Atiku rejects federal government's plan to sell assets borrowed to fund 2019 budget. Recommends use of $322 million recovered Abacha loot. No doubt APC has failed. That Wike says it didn't nominate Obi as Atiku's running mate. Okay, so we go to this day again. Buhari appeals to Amosun, Okorocha, Yeri, others not to defect. Says he did his best to ensure free primaries. Cautions politicians on divisive statements. That's the major story on the front page. We go to the top of the paper now, the Skyline headline. NLC backs out of minimum wage negotiations, says it's 30,000 naira a strike. The federal government is proposing a figure, 24,000 naira. We're hearing maybe 24,500. The state governors are saying it's 22,500
naira. Labour is saying they want 30,000 naira.
But people of goodwill are saying that it's not about the money that we pay people. It's about what that money can afford to buy in the market. Because every time we've done this, what happens? The costs of things rise. Inflation rises. So we know that this was going to happen. The moment you increase the minimum wage, there's the attendant inflation. Because this is how it works in this country. Anywhere in the world, anyway. I mean, the economists will tell you that. So it's not about, it's about improving the quality of our people. It's about improving what you can do with the money you're making. So if you say, for example, a Naira buys you this so thing. If you now say, okay, you're making 10 Naira now, the person in the market is going to raise his price to 10 Naira as well. You are not anywhere ahead. The important thing is, I think, all this talk about increasing the minimum wage, to some of the workers, they think, oh, this is the way forward. But really, we should be talking about how to improve the quality of life of the average Nigerian.
Of the average Nigerian. Interesting. The Nation newspaper is next very quickly. 2019, why Atiku's dream will crash by Tinubu. Nigerians won't return to PDP's PED. Abi finds body of missing general. We talked about that earlier. And also rejects governor's 22,500 Naira offer. There doesn't seem to be anything new here.
Okay, so we go to the New Telegraph. 2019, 500 clerics fast pray for Buhari's re-election with multiple riders. President looters want to return. PDP, APC members are looters. Return. PDP, APC members are looters. IBB, PDP will win landslide, and with so many riders there, so just leave that. Let's go to the top here, some filler stories. IGP drags for 100 Shiite members to court. Stock market sheds 2 trillion Naira in 4 months. APC crisis, I won't mortgage my conscience, Oshomole. FG arraigns Adeleke for others over impersonation. Down here, minimum wage government, Labour head for showdown. FG insists on 24,500 Naira. NLC-TUC, we will accept only 30,000 Naira. Missing general's body found inside Well Army. Same stories as the last.
And I have the Vanguard here talking about the minimum wage as its big story as well. Labour rejects 22,500 Naira, reverts to 66,500 Naira. And you said earlier that what we need is improving the general quality of life of the people. We were jobless, homeless, almost abandoned. Our conjoined twins, that's coming from parents. Exam malpractices, Adeleke ducked, granted bail on self-recognition. Federal government commences subsidy arrears payment. Okay, let's just take your reaction on this very interesting one. APC, federal government to flag off 72.9 billion Naira Papa Oshodi Expressway construction, November 17. NHIS, at last Buhari bows to pressure, suspends Usman, probes tenure.
NHIS.
NHIS.
Yes.
So there's been this talk about whether indeed a board can remove the CEO and exactly what the position of the federal government should be in fighting corruption at all of these agencies and parastatals.
Well, we should, ideally, if we're really serious about fixing this country, about making things work, we should fight corruption at every level, not just at the top level, at the minuscule level, at every level in this country. We should have a drive to ensure that in our thinking, because everything starts with your thinking, with your thought. In our thinking, in our attitude, that we fight. So if we say government that's trying to do something, we should all be supporting them. I mean, this is, Nigeria is so far gone down that drain of corruption that when we hear a little news about it, we all start to make noise as if it's a big deal. In other places, the littlest taint of corruption, gets people talking. We cannot just afford to keep going this way. There are things that we need to do that we have not done for maybe 30, 40, 50 years, right? I mean, I like to say that the foundation of this country was actually built on corruption because the British set this country up in a way to fail. So corruption is at the root of this country itself. And until we try to get to that foundation, to fix it, we keep seeing news like this. We'll keep hearing people knocking heads. You keep hearing some EFCC this and do, people trying all kinds of things too, and people trying. Some guys are trying to fight it, and some guys are there. The powerful guys are there trying to make sure that they can't get ahead. But until we go to the root of it and fix it, and we can do it. Nigerians think, oh, the problem is so large, but there's a philosophy that says, it takes a very simple solution to fix a simple, you can say a very simple problem.
All right, so we go to the Punch newspaper. Tinubu, we don't care whether Atiku holds meetings in the jungle or Dubai. Missing general, army finds corpse in abandoned well. Down here, avoid looters, Buhari warns aggrieved APC aspirants. And on the extreme right, still down the paper, police search for more suspects in Lagos Island cult clash. About 8 people died when 2 cult groups on Lagos Island clashed yesterday, and many residents got injured in the process. And this brings to the fore again the problem of cult groups scattered across the country. Young people joining cult groups.
So how do we engage our youth? This is the thing. How do you engage the youth? I mean, when this present Lagos State government started something, I thought they were on the right path, but I don't think they continued it. Where I thought we were going to start to build like stadia, not stadia, like recreational centers where you need to engage the youth. There was a government, was it Bemudia in Bendel, old Bendel State, and at that time Bendel State started dominating sports all over this country. All the young men and young women too were pushed into that, and you engage them. Sports is such a fantastic way to get, and we have lots of intelligent, hard-working young men here that we can. But when you have, my mother lives in Abeokuta, and there was a time where that fuel crisis thing, was it like 9 years ago? I mean, when people came out for a rally,
that's right.
whatever it was, 5 years ago,
subsidy
whatever.
protest.
Yeah, my mother said, I never knew there were so
2012.
many young people in Abeokuta. They all came out. I said, well, because they are inside their houses planning mischief. Because when a young man, because don't forget, youth is energy. And when that energy is not being used for positive, it will be used for negative.
That's why they say that, and I don't mind. You know how they ended. Okay, that's about it on the newspaper review. Coming up on TVC Breakfast.